Good morning, this is Francesca Evans from LymeOnline bringing you your weekly news update with the latest stories from Lyme Regis. The coronavirus pandemic has cost Lyme Regis a total of £310,000 according to the Town Council. The financial impact of the pandemic was outlined as councillors returned to face-to-face meetings for the first time in over a year this week. They were told that the outbreak of COVID-19 and subsequent national lockdowns had resulted in lost income of £322,000, with a staggering £191,000 of this coming from lost car parking revenue alone. Other losses came from chalet and beach hut bookings, closed amenities such as the mini-golf, seafront concessions and alfresco dining areas. On top of this, the council had to spend an additional £37,000, much of it on cleaning public toilets and security guard patrols on the seafront following a spate of antisocial behaviour, which was largely put down to a lack of other facilities and entertainment being available. The council did receive £54,000 from the government's Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme and two small grants totalling £5,400 from Dorset Council, meaning the total cost of the coronavirus pandemic to the town stands at £310,000. COVID case numbers continue to remain very low in the local area, with fewer than 3 cases recorded across Lyme Regis, Charmouth and the Marshwood Vale in the 7-day period up until May 7th. In small areas where there are fewer than 3 cases, full data is not given as to protect the identity of individuals. Case numbers have remained fewer than 3 for several weeks now. There were also fewer than 3 cases in every area for miles around, the closest with more recorded cases being Cranbrook near Exeter, Taunton in Somerset and Poole in East Dorset. The Cinema Theatre Association has called for action to be taken on the rebuild of the fire-stricken Regent Cinema in Lyme Regis. The association, which has a proven track record for saving former cinemas, said it was gravely concerned about the future of the Grade 2 listed Regent, which has remained closed and partially demolished since a major fire broke out in 2016. The group criticised owners WTW Scott Cinemas for remaining tight-lipped on their plans for the Regent, despite conflicting rumours about the building's future circulating the town. Chairman Richard Gray said enough was enough, and work on the rebuild should now be underway, as promised to the people of Lyme Regis. MP Chris Loder has challenged Highways England about the dangers of the A35, which runs through West Dorset. Speaking at a meeting of the Transport Select Committee this week, he said that dozens more people could be killed on the notoriously dangerous road if they did not speed up a programme of safety improvements. The MP criticised Highways England for its slow progress despite being given billions in funding, saying it was either lying or incompetent in its management of the A35. Here he is addressing the organisation's Strategy Planning Executive Director.
If I may. Now, you may know that the A35 is very close to my heart in West Dorset. 5 years ago, Highways England had an external consultant tell Highways England that safety was a considerable issue. A letter I've got from your regional director that arrived yesterday tells me the timeline of addressing safety studies with a view, bear in mind it was 5 years ago you were told this, tells me that final construction for some safety initiatives are going to be completed in 4 years' time. I don't know how many people have got to die on that road for you guys to sort yourself out. So from my perspective, I would just like to understand, you've got £27.4 billion in RIS2. It appears very much to me that safety is not your number one priority, because I think it's fair to say dozens of people will die on the A35. Now, when I worked for Network Rail, if that happened to me, I would have been sacked. And I'm just not quite understanding why we are accepting, or why you and your colleagues at the senior executive level of Highways England are accepting such levels of bureaucracy that are ultimately costing the taxpayer billions of pounds.
Lyme Regis is unlikely to see any additional parking spaces created in Broad Street, despite concerns that a lack of parking is driving shoppers elsewhere. Questions were raised on the recent loss of on-street parking spaces at a virtual version of the annual town meeting. Several town centre spaces were lost when the new pedestrian crossing was created last December. Resident Ken Gollop said this meant those with mobility problems were choosing to travel to other nearby towns as it had become too difficult to find a parking space near essential shops in Lyme Regis. He suggested areas where he believed additional spaces could be created in Broad Street, but Dorset Councillor Darryl Turner said this was unlikely due to restrictions near bus stops, junctions and crossings. He added that all options had already been looked at. 7 members of Lyme Regis Gig Club were thrown into the water last weekend when their boat capsized after being hit by a freak wave. The incident occurred just outside the town's harbour, with one member suffering head injuries and having to be taken to hospital. All 7 rowers managed to reach the harbour and were assisted out of the water by nearby surfers and members of the lifeboat crew who were called into action. The wooden gig Black Ven remained undamaged in the incident. Lyme Regis is mourning former Woodruff School music teacher Brian Manners, who has died at the age of 87 at Shire House Care Home following a long illness. Mr Manners passed away peacefully listening to the Woodruff School song, a tune he had played himself on hundreds of occasions, including at many school reunions. Dozens of former pupils have taken to social media to pay tribute to their teacher, describing him as inspirational. He will also be fondly remembered in the town for his involvement with Lyme Regis Operatic Society. The Jurassic Coast has been listed among the top landmarks Brits are most keen to visit following the coronavirus pandemic. New data from Parkdean Resorts has revealed the top 50 UK landmarks that Brits are most looking forward to visiting as lockdown restrictions are eased, with the Jurassic Coast coming in 8th place. The coastline stretches 95 miles from Exmouth to Studland, with Lyme Regis at its heart. It is England's only natural World Heritage Site and was inscribed by UNESCO in 2001 for the outstanding universal value of its rocks, fossils and landforms. Parkdean Resorts used Google search volumes to compile the list, with the Spinnaker Tower in Portsmouth coming out on top, and other popular landmarks including Buckingham Palace in London and Glastonbury Tor. In local sport, Lyme Regis' first team is on the verge of finishing top of the Devon and Exeter League Premier East Division. The league recommenced when recreational football was given permission to resume, and the league gave teams the option to continue their fixtures. Only 5 clubs, including the Seasiders, decided to do so. The Premier East Division is the highest standard at which Lyme has played, and tomorrow they need just 1 point from their last game of the season, at home to Chard Town Reserves, who they recently beat 3-0. Kick-off is at 12:30 p.m. as there will be a double header at the Davy Fort, with the Reserves playing Teignmouth at 3:15. Lyme's good run-in to the end of the season, including last week's 6-2 victory over Kentisbeare, in which Joe Bond scored his 26th hat-trick for the club, augurs well for next season when they will be considered one of the favourites for the title. Lyme Reserves' good form came to a halt with 2 successive defeats last week after taking 13 points from 5 games, and they have 3 more matches to play in their bid to climb to a respectable Division 1 East position. Up Lyme and Lyme Regis cricketers were disappointed not to have got a game last week, with the Devon Cricket League programme washed out by heavy rain. Tomorrow they are away to Chardstock, where they hope to capitalise on their good start to the new season with a 20-point haul in their first game. Thanks for watching LymeOnline's video news bulletins. You can stay up to date with all the latest local news throughout the week on the LymeOnline website. And don't forget to pick up your free copy of the LymeOnline newspaper, which is back in print today following a 4-month hiatus due to the national lockdown. You can find the newspaper at many local outlets across Lyme Regis, Up Lyme, Charmouth and Axminster. Have a great weekend.